All right, guys. Welcome to your regularly scheduled programming following up a loss by the Atlanta Falcons. Yet again, we blow another fourth quarter lead. And I think what you saw here in this game was an audition for Raheem Morris to be the future Atlanta Falcons head coach. Following up the impressive win against Minnesota, we came into Detroit with a little renewed hope for this season, perhaps a little renewed hope for the team itself. And because you really saw some things change last week, and this was Raheem's real chance to say, look, guys, the problem was with Dan Quinn. It wasn't with the entire coaching staff. I can change things. And what you saw here was Raheem Morris fall flat on his face and really blow this audition. It really sucks to watch, man. It just really sucks that this is the Atlanta sports culture. This is the Georgia sports culture. You know how many text messages I get after those games from people from out of state that I know? You know how many Twitter posts go up after that? How many memes are made every time Atlanta does this again? It just hurts, man. It really hurts sometimes. You expect it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Marco, what's your
I
what do you
disagree
want to
that
talk about?
I disagree that Raheem Morris failed his audition because unlike the Dan Quinn losses where it's like a team collapse, we won this game. It was just a Todd Gurley mistake that cost us this game. Like that was literally that was an individual player who, lost sight of where he was on the field at that moment and completely just cost us the game. I mean, I know the defense, could have stood up and stopped, Matt Stafford from Galladay was auditioning to be the next Julio Jones, and they couldn't stop that. But at the same time, I mean, we had this game in the bag, and it's a lot different than like watching a kick spin by you or what was it that cost us the Chicago game? I forget. What do we do?
It was just the Nick Foles, blaze of glory there down the
I
end
feel like
where
there was one pivotal moment where we didn't do something that we could have done.
uh let's see. There was a touchdown throw over the middle, and I don't know, it's all one big blur now. All these losses are starting
Right. But
to come
yeah, in
together.
this case, I mean, yeah, I still think like I wasn't still that unease that I got whenever Dan Quinn was coaching. I still didn't get that in this game. And I knew going in that Detroit, I think they're one of the top 10 passing defenses in the league. So I didn't expect Matt Ryan to come out here and just torch them like we did in Minnesota. But at the same time, I think that that was just Todd Gurley tripping into a loss. What it says the first game losing touchdown in NFL history.
I get what you're saying, that Todd Gurley play could have been the difference, but it shouldn't have come down to that. Todd Gurley should have been able to walk into the end zone carefree had we gone for the field goal with 5 minutes left in the game instead of going for it on 4th and 5. There's no reason that we should have gone for it on 4th and 5 with 5 minutes left, down 1 point. There's no reason for that. Right. I'm sorry, no, we were up 1 point at that point. So we had a 1 point lead on them. And then instead of going and getting down, making it a touchdown for them to go ahead, we went ahead and said, you know what, hey, look, we'll make it a little bit easier for you and give you a field goal attempt with one of the most accurate field goal kickers in history on your team.
Right. Well, they're actually the Detroit was currently the number one passing, or they in terms of passing yards allowed, they're number one in the league. So Matt Ryan had a good game considering that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting it on Matt. I'm not putting it on Gurley. I'm not. I'm putting it squarely on Raheem Morris's shoulders. You had a chance to prove that you, in tough coaching situations, you had the wherewithal or the coaching acumen to say the right play call here is to do this. I know we're a losing team right now, and I know it would feel good if we converted this 4th and 5, but the right decision is to take the points.
Right.
And that's where I blame.
Got it. The ball batted down, right? When he tried to get it to
Yeah.
go over.
I think it either got batted down or he just short armed it. He did, because he had to get it over someone in the flat. So, I mean, as Micah likes to say, oh, the plays were there. But,
wrong call.
It's the wrong call in a time where execution must be perfect. On a
Right.
fourth down play call, especially a 4th and 5, your execution has to be perfect. That's a 4th and medium. That's not a 4th and short. That's a hard, especially in the red zone. I think we were on the 10, so it's already a compact field. Everyone can explode off and drive on the ball. Even if he caught that, there's no guarantee that he got the first down because he would have caught it around, 3 or 4 yards to go, and he had to spin around to catch it. So I mean.
Yeah, I conveniently forgot about that play. But I remember my friend even texted me like, y'all the Falcons, why are y'all trying to go? Why not just take the points? Even so, knowing the tempo of the game and how it was such a low scoring affair, to not consider that, those points, that you're going to need those points is quite ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the defense played well all game. And
yeah,
I mean,
they were looking good.
People are like, "Oh, there's the Falcons defense there at the end of the quarter drive." But I mean, we went to that soft off coverage defense that we love to go to. But I mean, in situations like that, it's really up to your pass rush to win the game there. The secondary is not going to be, in this day and age, is not going to be able to win that game. You're not going to be able to, Keanu O'Neal did his best effort on knocking that ball away from Galladay. It was just a perfectly thrown ball and a perfectly received ball as well. Galladay got low, put his body in between the ball and the receiver or the defender and protected the ball there. I mean, and there it is happening right behind us. So yeah, I mean, that's the reason I say this game is on Raheem Morris. It would have been nice if Gurley could have fallen down on the 1 and we would have milked the clock and kicked a 17-yard game-winning field goal. That would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen that way. But it's just.
Yeah, man, just another weekly upset. But I mean, at this point, it's like, what, I don't know if we can still even be upset because we are a 1-6 team, but somehow we find a way to just get right to the end. And
Micah joining us from the depths of darkness with his pie.
Oh wow, what's going on?
Cheesecake.
With his cheesecake. We're live, by the way, buddy. So, Micah, just to catch you up on this, I was talking about how this game turned out to be Raheem Morris's addition to become, the long-term head coach for the Falcons. And on that 4th and 5 decision is where he really blew it. He blew his chances. He signed his resume and handed it to Arthur Blank and said, "Look, I know the history has been coaching decision problems, and I can actually change that. But here's actually what I'm going to do for you." So, your mic's not on.
Huh?
Your mic is not on.
You're in that deep dark hole. You were in a dark room, now you're in a deep dark.
Deep dark hole. But I don't know why y'all can't hear me.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Sounds like you're
super far away.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, all much better.
It was a rough decision because it didn't work. I can understand he just wanted to be aggressive right there. Actually was a pretty good play call. It's just the execution was piss poor. We didn't get enough on it. If he drops that in there,
Ryan actually just said that's exactly what
I called it.
Well, but I mean, even I think Brock Hewart said it. He was like, if he can get that over Flowers' head, it's a touchdown, and it's not even a close game. But he didn't set his feet, and he underthrew it, so Flowers was able to get a tip on it. Now, I mean, like I said, it did come back to bite us. That's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because I mean, yeah, we could have easily taken a field goal and it would have been a completely different game. But I mean, I get the aggressiveness. I can understand the aggressiveness in that perspective. The offense was moving the ball. You want to keep that momentum and set the tone. 4th and 5 was a little long, but like I said, the opportunity was there. We just didn't execute.
But the problem with going for it on 4th and 5, as opposed to taking a chip shot field goal, is your execution has to be perfect, Micah. It has to. And for a team that hasn't executed well down the stretch here recently, and a team that, you know, has missed some opportunities, and, you know, every team does, every game, every team misses opportunities. To put it squarely on the shoulders of, you know, execution there, I think as a coach, you have to take that out of the equation and take the easy points to put yourself up 4 points instead of 1 point.
But this is where we're kind of differentiating ideas. I don't necessarily disagree. I don't disagree with you, but I also don't think that it was the worst thing ever to go for it right there, because like I said,
it cost you the game, so it has to be.
Ultimately it did, but I mean, it's one of those, if it did work, which we're one of the few teams who, whenever we try to be aggressive, it always fails. But so many teams are aggressive in those situations, and like the Chiefs are almost always aggressive in those kind of situations, or the Eagles, and it often pays off. It pays off more than than it fails for them a lot of times. But we're one of those teams, whenever we're aggressive, it fails. We don't execute properly. It fails, and then it's like, well, why did we make that decision? I mean,
I think I will say that in the moment, I didn't think it was that. I thought it was an unlikely play, and I thought that our chances of converting it were slim. But I also, like Mike, I didn't think in the moment, like, oh, wow, what the hell is he doing? Like, you know what I mean? I didn't really, I don't know, maybe it's because of, in perspective of what our record was and just like how seriously I'm actually taking this season. But you know, a lot of times I'll see plays and I'll in that moment, I'll be like, God, what the hell was that? Like what Powell was doing all game. Like, like I was like, what?
Returning kicks, like, bruh. Let it go.
You see, that's where you see the change of Katwika being fired coming in right there.
Right. You know, so yeah, that's true. That's very true. So like, yeah, like Micah said, in the moment, I didn't think it was that egregious, but like you said, it did end up costing us the game. So, you know, you gotta, you know, with perspective, you know, hindsight, you can look back and be like, yeah, that was a bad coaching decision. That is along the lines of what something Dan Quinn would have done.
In my game notes, I put Detroit takes over with 5 minutes left, and the Falcons have one timeout. Defense holds for a field goal. Missed conversion earlier in the game now plays a significant role. That was with 5 minutes left in the game. I put that in my game notes.
Here's my biggest frustration wasn't even that. It was after Prater misses the field goal, which was, you know, rare that he misses a field goal especially under 50. You go 2-run plays and then a pass play on third down where Matt gets strip sacked. It's like, if anything, play action first down. Try to take a shot, because it's like, you know, be aggressive early. And then I get it. You want to keep the clock running because you have the lead. But at the same time, it was went conservative there. And then, you know, what we wound up turning the ball over and giving them right back in field goal position, which Prater made up for the mistake that he made for the one miss he got. So it was just like, come on, man. Like, this is the time to take a shot, not, you know, but we were conservative when we probably could have been a little more aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, Cutter has to go. I mean, I think everyone agrees that Cutter's play calling is just terrible. He plays a lot of, for those of you who don't know this term when I say it, he plays a lot of Marty ball. Marty ball is Marty Schottenheimer. He was famous for running it on first and second down and then throwing on third if you have to. And it was just super predictable, which is why he, you know, if he had a really talented team, it would do well. But, you know, predicting
I don't think Marty ever won a championship.
No, he didn't. There's a reason he was, you know, he's one of the winningest coaches of all times, but no championships because he just coached for so long. And those days are past. You know,
there was also a reason why you can make the playoffs, go deep in the playoffs with a talented Chargers roster, and then get fired.
Yeah, I mean, that team was stacked. That team should have had at least 2 chips. They were so deep.
Couldn't get past the Patriots.
Yeah, talent-wise, they were far superior to the Patriots. There's just that head coaching. The coaching was the big difference. So let's do this. We won't dwell on this too long because, I mean, this is the 6th time this has happened to us. We're all kind of resigned to the fact that this is not going to be a winning season. This is going to be the season of change here in Atlanta. So let's go over, kind of quarter by quarter, the big plays that I wrote down, draw some positives and some negatives from what we saw there. And we'll wrap it up because there's no real reason to spend an hour and a half on this talking about, ifs and buts, because it's just, at the end of the day, it's another loss. We're now 1-6 on the season. Raheem Morris, some of us think that he blew that game. We'll kind of hear what Atlanta sports media says and what the national conglomerate says as well. But I have a feeling they're going to lie. A lot of that decision is going to weigh, or that a lot of that result is going to weigh on his shoulders. So first quarter, we saw Alex Mack go down with injury. Matt Hennessy stepped in for a play. We didn't really get to see too much of him, but I'm excited to see some time of him because it's more than likely with this roster turnover, we're going to see Alex Mack get his walking papers or retire. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes and signs with a team that's a contender as kind of a last-ditch effort to get a ring. But the big thing I noticed in the first quarter is Keanu Neal looks like Kiki now. He's now comfortable. He's not worried about his Achilles or his knee anymore. He's firing off the ball, and when he touches somebody again, they're going down. That's one of my favorite things about Keanu Neal. If he puts his paws on you, you're stopping in your tracks. And did y'all notice much about Kiki that game, or do you have any observations about him or the secondary in general in the first quarter?
Go ahead, Michael.
Not first quarter.
Okay.
But, I mean, Keanu looked really good. I mean, honestly, the defense didn't look bad as a whole. I mean, they did a decent job.
Let's keep it quarter centric right here, and then
quarter. I mean, the first quarter, they did a decent job. Detroit had that one drive. They missed a couple tackles early, but I mean, for the most part, they did a solid job keeping them in check. Like no real big plays early on. So
yeah, I mean the defense definitely looked good. I mean the significant plays of that quarter, you saw the roughing the passer call on AJ Terrell, excuse me.
Worst call in NFL.
Yeah, that was a awful call. I don't know. I mean, people are like, "Oh, he left his feet." Even some of the Detroit fans that I know, they're like, "Yeah, if you go to the head area and
his shoulder might have hit his helmet." But then Pierre or whatever his name is, Pereira.
Pereira.
They're like, "Oh well, it doesn't matter if he's out of the pocket. He's a quarterback." Like what?
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Well, yeah, that was the thing he was saying. Now, granted, for like if that had been Cam, it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah,
but it was the fact that their helmets hit.
They didn't even hit though.
They touched. They like glanced.
Yeah, they did, and that's for the less mobile quarterbacks. That's enough for refs to potentially call it. So I hate it. It was stupid because it wasn't egregious to me, but I mean it's technically they can call it.
Well, first of all, he didn't lead with his crown, and
he went head up.
And as he was coming down, he made a point to make sure that his helmet didn't land in line with Matt Stafford's helmet. And then the third point is he's out of the pocket, so he's a runner. What are you supposed to do? Just hug him?
I get it. Look, I get it, but at the same time, that's part of the problem with all of these quarterback protection rules, is because they're so particular about where you can hit the quarterback, and that's why I can't remember if it was Heward or one of the other guys in there. They said that's what he just needed to lower his angle. If he had face mask to the chest, it wouldn't have been a penalty, but they just said because the helmet's touched, they can technically say helmet to helmet contact, and it's a penalty.
Well-
I disagree. I don't think it was egregious. I think some of the commentators agreed that it wasn't egregious, but due to the interpretation, it's yeah. I mean,
that's to me, it's not even the rules that are the worst part. Like you said, interpretation is the worst part because they choose to call that when they want to. Sometimes you'll see that same play and it won't get called. And then other times you'll see it and it's like when Matt Stafford was running and those two dudes sandwiched him later on in the game, and I was like, wait, is that about to be a flag?
Like, no. Just absolutely cracked him. But the thing about that call is that they don't really take into consideration is if you go, obviously don't go for his head. That's fine. And he didn't. But he launched high enough to contain Stafford's arms. So he wrapped top to keep Stafford from throwing the ball. He can't, if he goes sternum, he's not going to be able to wrap Stafford's arms. Stafford's going to be able to do that. And plus, if he goes low on Stafford, Terrell being 195 pounds and Stafford being 235 and like probably 240 in pads, that's a huge weight disadvantage. So he's going to have to drive through him and drive him into the turf, which is a penalty. He can't go too low because that's a penalty. So really, Terrell did the only thing he could do in containing that play and making sure that Stafford did not make a play there, and they still called a penalty.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Why play football?
Ask him to not throw it? Hey, I'm here. I could hit you, but I can't.
Trust me. I'm more old school on stuff than y'all are. So, the quarterback protections are over the top, in my opinion. It's just like, but it is what it is. It's frustrating, but yeah.
I know it sounds bad, but like the carnal instinct in me is, if I were a coach, I'd be like, okay, well, next time go do it and make sure he doesn't get up. You know what I mean? Since they're gonna flag you for a normal tackle, go and give him a dirty tackle. Yeah, go kill him. Why not?
Calm down, Greg Williams.
Jimmy G is so terrible. I just want to say that.
Oh yeah, he's bad. Trade Matt. So after that, they get 7 out of it. We come back and we try and respond. Cutter continues to, up until after the following drive, Cutter was just kind of, feeding the defense 3 and outs, trying to run it at the gut of the defense with those 3 humongous linemen in there. And when it came to passing downs, they were just pushing our pocket back right into Matt's lap just about every time. But then we got a break finally, and that was the Matt Ryan to Ridley to Hayden Hurst catch, where live it looked like the ball hit the ground and Hayden just picked it up. But after that, they reviewed it. We got the conversion there, and then went down and got a touchdown out of it. That was Gurley's first touchdown. So that was really what sparked our offense and really woke us up as a team, was that conversion right there. Second quarter run defense continued to play well, which, through 7 games, almost halfway through the season, the Falcons' run defense has been much improved, so much better. Really the bane of our existence has been the passing defense, and they're young, but I think that's also with Terrell going down with COVID for a while, having to start Oliver, Sheffield being hurt for the beginning of the year, Rico being hurt for a little bit, Kiki being hurt for a little bit, and then now Denard's out for at least 4 games. That's really been an inconsistency amongst the chemistry in the secondary has really been killing us. But the run defenses look good. I think they said we're the 5th best run defense in the NFL right now.
Yeah, we only had 1 bad game against Carolina. Yeah.
So, and
here's my thing though. Really, one of the most frustrating things is to me, I can't really knock the secondary as much because the pass rush can't get home. And not even get home, you can't even put pressure on quarterbacks enough to get hits. Because at least if you can get hits, get in their face a little bit, you can throw them off, throw timing off, force them to rush things.
Yeah.
But it was, there was so many plays where Stafford just stepped up, kind of stepped out. All right, look, scan the field. When your secondary has the whole receiver 5-6 seconds or 5 seconds and you're playing zone, eventually a receiver's going to find a hole in the zone and you're going to gas you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I guess Marlon Davidson is still on the COVID list. So we're missing that second interior pass rusher. Tack is still dinged up. So you're having to rely on guys like Sanat and Charles Harris and Steven Means to get these pressures for you. So it just sucks, man. When fully healthy, we saw what Tack did in the first game. We saw what Marlon Davidson can do. We know what Grady can do. Fowler's been the only piece where we've been waiting for him to break out, but he's played well enough in the run game to where it offsets his lack of production in the sack department. Yeah, so I mean, if we can just get some dang consistency on defense, I think right now what I said at the beginning of the year, us being a possible top 15 defense, sounds crazy, but when fully healthy, you see what we can do. So
we're going into the game. We were number 5 in rushing yards, number 31 in passing yards.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like we did a decent job on the on pass defense. It's just when Stafford has 4 and 5 seconds to wait for receivers to run themselves open, not much the secondary can do. That's all defensive line right there.
Yeah, that last just that game winning, the walk-off touchdown was he had so much time.
Entire last drive, there were 2 or 3 plays where he just step up, step out, wait on it, and strike.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping to see us be a little more aggressive in attacking him. Throw 4 or 5 guys at him and drop 5 or 6 in coverage instead of just dropping 7 every time. But second quarter, the run defense continued to play well. That's where we got the goal line stop on Adrian Peterson, where Fowler really just flew off the edge and blew up Adrian Peterson before he even had a chance to do anything. We saw one busted play there. That was the pick play on Debo, where Debo just kind of gave up on it. He's like, well, see you later, Amendola. But the second quarter is where I really wanted to touch on in our man coverage and our zone coverage with Sheffield and AJ on the outside. It looks so much better. It's sticky coverage. Now, Sheffield was getting picked on because he had like a 4-inch height disadvantage there, but he was on the guy's hip the entire time. Some of those are going to go your way. Some of them not. You're not always going to face a Kenny Galladay, but in this division, you might. I mean,
that's really, it reminds me of 2016 when with Trufant and Alford.
Mm-hmm.
Alford always got picked on. He was a small receiver. So they would put their biggest receiver against him and was like, all right, and Alford would always be on the hip, but at the end of the day, you unless you can bat the ball down, there's not much you can do. You just got to make a tackle after they catch it because you're going to be the one that's going to get picked on all the time.
Alford would start grabbing, though.
Yeah, that was the problem. Alford would just maul people. And I think with coaching, though, they can teach Sheffield how to be a little more productive in punching that ball out and making sure they don't come down with it. So, but the big thing here, I think it's pretty safe to say at this point, Oliver's a bust.
I think he looked okay in the fourth quarter.
Guarding who? Danny Amendola?
He was more like
I didn't
he was like
see
in his zone or
anything.
something.
I didn't see anything necessarily damning from that game, but
do you not remember that when I talked about it was like in the first quarter when Heward was like, "Man, these poor linebackers, they get baited into these short routes all the time, and there's nothing they can really do because they're not versed in pass coverage like that." And they show the play, and it's Oliver. And he's running up going, "I'm going to get this." Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, he has terrible football instincts.
His instincts are awful.
But I'll just say he's looked a lot better, at least hiding him in the scheme since Raheem has taken over. Because he was glaringly terrible in the first handful of games.
Well, I think it's almost like he's better in the slot because he's not on an island as much.
Yeah.
So
he they can't outrun him on the edge.
Yeah, but well, like I do think, like I said, he can't. He's not on an island, so he doesn't feel like he can just. they can just burn him, and he has help all the time. So he plays a little more confident or a little more aggressive. But when Darquez comes back, he's probably gone. Or
He'll definitely
moves to dime.
I do think this subject comes up in, I don't know if we're like second or third quarter at this point.
We're still second. We're right before half.
But I know, I don't know when it was when Ridley is like so talented, man. But in terms of running, his mindset, and a lot of things, he's just not a number one receiver.
He's an excellent number two.
He's
probably the best number two. Well, Godwin might be, actually.
Right. He's so talented. Like, he has so many abilities in his hands and all that. But like, his mind, man, is just.
Yeah, he doesn't have the focus that Julio has.
He'll get
like they talked about, like that one pass in the back of the end zone where he stepped out,
went out, or that one where he stopped running. He just does so many things. Or that pick play, it's like, bro, just shoot your hands up. Like, don't you know what I mean? Yeah. They do that.
Run to a
standing there like, all right, I did my job.
And even, I mean, that could have gone either way, because he saw him, he turned towards Matt, and he sat down in it. Now,
he just didn't shoot his hands.
But that's the thing. What receivers is going to go out and be like, when he's open anyway?
Got to.
You'd be surprised though. It's some like more teams, like teams who are very sticklers about the little things, like the Patriots. Their receivers will do, like, throw their hands up and stuff like that. Versus us, it's just, all right, I'm just going to kind of stand here and block him. And I was running the route.
Right, he just hip checked him a little bit, and Detroit did a similar thing on the next possession, but the guy didn't make any contact with any of our players, so it was a natural pick instead of a forced pick.
Yeah,
see if I can pull up Oliver's snap counts here. They haven't put it up yet for this game. I want to see how many snaps he actually saw on there versus the Lions. But yeah, so I mean, that took us into halftime up 14-10. Was looking pretty good. We started to see some things that we had been begging for. You saw a little bit of pressure from the linebackers in the second quarter, and then we came out in the second half and continued that. And that's where you saw Debo come up the gut twice, almost kill Stafford on one. And that's really our only way that we're generating consistent pressure is by blitzing.
Right,
and
outside guys.
Yeah, I mean, until McKinley's back to full health, and until Grady gets a little more help inside on the passing downs, I think that's what we're gonna have to continue to do.
I wonder if we can ever even say, will Tack ever be full health? Is there such a thing as a full health Tack?
Tack is always dinged up.
Game one, play one. That's the healthiest Tack you go and get. We just started the season after the first play. Hamstring tightened up on me, coach.
Third quarter is where you really saw the defense start to get really comfortable, though. You saw them firing off the ball. You saw Kiki flying all over the field, Foye flying all over the field. Yeah. AJ, I love the way AJ plays in the run game. That man is so aggressive. There were several times where AP and Swift were running up the gut, and who's right there next to him, trying to strip the ball out and trying to drive him back is number 24. When's the last time you saw a corner like that?
It's funny, as a rookie, he's the most gifted guy in our secondary. Already.
Well, I mean, they said it in the game. Raheem Morris already said it. He was like, AJ Terrell's our best cover guy.
He is.
First season, he's our best cover guy.
It's sad. It's very
like,
sad.
Oh man, that's.
I mean, but he's such a talented guy. He's so talented.
Oh yeah, I agree. But it's also kind of depressing in the fact that we have some vets in there. It's like, this rookie's better than all of them.
Vets, and it's not like we haven't been drafting and looking for secondary players for the past 4 years.
No, well, really, here's the thing: the only other corner who I think played close to his level was Denard. Because that one game, we were playing the Bears, he was locked down.
Denard looks special.
And then, of course, he gets hurt in the fourth quarter of that game, and we proceed to blow it after he gets hurt. But I mean, Yeah, that was the only other person who even looked worthy of, like be a great cover guy.
Yeah. When if he comes back, I mean, I'd imagine he would at some point. I think they expected about 4 weeks for him to come back, so he's probably looking like next week or the week after we'll see him back in the lineup, and that'll probably in limited capacity at first, but God, that'll help a ton.
Yeah.
Third quarter though, our run game was still struggling. I think towards the end there, they had announced we had 16 carries for like 28 yards on the game.
Todd Gurley just has a penchant. Like I don't know if he understands he's lost a step yet, but he always tries to bounce it out to the edge, and that never works anymore.
He runs a lot like Le'Veon Bell. He's a very it's a patient run.
But Le'Veon's patient inside.
No, I mean Le'Veon's patient on everything.
Right,
Le'Veon will run off his blocks all day long, and then when he sees something, he's gone. The problem is we haven't had that second level blocking for Gurley yet.
Yeah.
Like the line caves, and then Gurley will have to bounce it out, like run back and then out. And at that point, you take one step or one half step in the wrong direction. That gives the defense enough time to get that angle back.
Right, because it happens so quick, but he bounces out almost immediately.
Well, I mean, when there's absolutely nothing up the gut, you got to think like Detroit has a huge interior. Chicago has a huge interior. We saw him run well against the Vikings because they're a bad defense. They're just a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
They're small up front. They don't have their biggest guy, Linval, opted out, and the other guy. They had 2 guys on their interior opt out, so they lost their run stoppers before the season. So, we run up against some really big teams, and we're just a small line. It's these zone blocking lines aren't made to handle those big guys like that. They're made to be able to stretch them out. And I want to ask you guys one thing. This is where I was actually leading up to this point is in that game we just played, how many variances of run plays did you see called there?
Not a lot of variety. It was all
3 or 4
dive.
Maybe.
It all
maybe
like
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Either a setback dive or just a regular dive.
And then you see the toss. We ran the toss a couple times, which we had no success on it.
I don't even remember a toss.
Yeah, I don't remember a toss either.
I remember a shovel pass.
I mean, there was a third down. We ran a toss. Gurley fought just enough to get the first down, but he only got like 3 yards on it. So, I mean, it wasn't successful, but I mean, we did run a couple, but honestly, his best success came being patient running inside and towards the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He waited, slithered in a little crease and got 6-7 yards.
Yeah. And the point is Dirk Cutter's
You just
I don't know what to say about it. Yeah, he just
don't got it.
He doesn't have it. And I mean, if I'm going up against a team that's going to say, I'm going to trot out 3 guys on the inside that are over 320 pounds, and I'm going to force you by playing these guys on the outside to run inside. I'm not running at those guys. I'm going to stretch them out all game. I'm going to make them run. I'm going to make those big guys run stretch plays, run halfback screens, run something, get creative, have a motion to where Gurley motions out behind the receivers on the right side, and then you throw a quick screen over there. Make the big guys run, get them off the field. But Cutter just doesn't think that way. Cutter thinks, we're going to play my style ball, and we're going to bully you out.
He's a glorified position coach. That's what Dirk Cutter.
Well, I mean, you said it. What was it? You've said it the past 2 weeks, though. The one of the fundamental run plays in that Shanahan scheme is that inside toss play, where you just toss it back to the halfback. You let him find his hole, and you stretch, and it allows him. You can stretch the defense out and whatever. But it's get the ball to him quick.
Right.
Don't do a straight handoff and just let him find his hole and run.
It's gone.
Cutter doesn't call it.
He doesn't use the play.
So
It's essentially just a quick stretch. That's all it is. It looks like a toss play, but it's a way to get the ball in the running back's hands quicker than a stretch play to where the running back or the quarterback has to, take 2 or 3 steps back and then hand it to him. It's almost like a direct snap. Yeah, and it's just not there. And for us to continuously draft these linemen like Lindstrom, to go out and get Caleb McGarry, to have Alex Mack, to get Jake Matthews, who are, they're small. And when I say small, they're like 305 pounds. Those are still huge humans. But as far as an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman is concerned, those are smaller guys. And you do that in order to beat these big teams out to the edge. You allow them to get out in front and get to the second level. But when you're trying to run straight at a team like this, that's not what these guys are built to do.
Right. And then it makes it very easy for them when it's a design halfback dive and then Gurley sees nothing and he tries to bounce it out. Everybody's already ready for him on all the edges because there's nowhere to go. But like you said, if you use a little bit of deception, a little bit of movement to make them think you're going this way, but it's designed to go the other way, then it allows the design is to hit the edge as opposed to, oh, Gurley, make something happen with your arthritic knees.
Yeah. And I mean, at this point, because of, it was either dive or dive at the middle and then Gurley just bounces it out. The defense was, once they saw that step in one direction, they all flowed that way. I mean, They got really aggressive because they knew there was no threat to Gurley beating them to that. So in this quarter, I was like, man, it would work perfectly. Here's a counter. Because they were so aggressive. They were so aggressive in the way they were pursuing Gurley. They were sitting down in the box, and they didn't have to do anything because we just were handing it to him. But again, Cutter is an inept play caller and needs to be fired now.
Yeah, I don't even really know what he would be good at. Like maybe in college.
Yeah, go back to college.
Like where that unimaginative shit. Like
go back to Boise State.
Work. Yeah.
I mean, I think he could. It would have to be almost an all-star team with like this quarterback with the cannon for an arm.
He'd blow that.
Ridiculous running back. I mean, it's one of those things where vertical, like he likes the vertical. He likes to go downfield, and
I know. I was just about to say, almost like if he had Mike Evans, OJ Howard, Chris Godwin.
He just didn't have the running backs. He didn't have the running backs.
The same running backs are doing it this year, man. The same running backs.
No more excuses for Dirk Cutter. He would fail in any situation because he's just not good.
Yeah, Dirk Cutter's awful.
He might in college, where it's like in the Big Ten, where like some of these places where you can run that, and even in the SEC at some of these schools that never win, like you can go there and just run that same stuff every time and maybe find success just because you can run a halfback dive on 70% of your plays.
Well, the thing was he had to be honest, he had some high powered offenses in Tampa. They just lost because Jameis couldn't save himself. Jameis threw, throw the ball straight to the defense and then squinting. What happened on that play? Like, bro, did you not?
Is that a red jersey? Is that pewter or red?
I think that was Cap. I think Jameis could see fine. He just said that to increase his chance.
No. Jameis couldn't see ever since freshman. Like that was a known fact at Florida State. They had to enlarge their signs.
He still can't see.
They did. They had to blow up the signs because he'd be like,
because the fact that he knew that all the way in college, and
I know that was the crazy thing. I thought he got it fixed. Like coming into the NFL, he said he got it fixed, but
it took him to have a 30-30 season to finally come out and be like, "Oh well, I got it fixed." Like, no,
this ain't gonna work now. I realize it. Not being able to see the other team is kind of a disadvantage.
He just said that to try to get signed.
Bro, he needed to have some rec specs on under his helmet.
Kurt Rambis.
So, third quarter, they went up 16 to 14. That field goal was after the 4th and 5 attempt, correct?
I think we were up still when we tried.
That was the first one, yeah. So then we come out fourth quarter. We go for it. We drive all the way down. We get down to there about 12, I think is where that happened. We had a 4th and 5. We go for it. Like Micah said earlier there, the play was there to be made, but also mentioned that in those situations, there is a razor thin margin of error. Actually, there is no margin for error in those situations. It's either you do or you don't. We did not. We turned the ball over. We forfeited, putting 3 more points on the board. And then
they brought the house on that.
yeah, we literally bet the house on it. Raheem Morris said, "You know what? This is how I'm gonna solidify myself as a Falcons."
They
head
brought
coach.
the house.
Yeah, that's what
They
I said.
brought the house. That was an all-out blitz on their part, and so it was just like, dude, you got to complete it.
If you could just slip, if they could have just slipped one of those,
yeah,
it was the right play call, I will say, but it was just the wrong situation.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we would all have a Merry
But like
Christmas.
I said, that kind of crap works for so many teams in the NFL. It just never works for us. It's just like, God,
I think
what
you're saying is it works for all those teams who have quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford, these guys who have very strong arms. And it can work that way because they can throw off their back foot 40 yards still. Matt Ryan can't do that.
Yeah.
And teams know that. So they're going to send the house against him.
Yeah. The crazy thing was he actually had time. He had enough room to set his feet and make that throw. But he didn't have much time.
Shit. He didn't have much time. But he did panic, but he didn't have much time.
Well, no, he had enough time to at least set his feet.
Yeah, he could have just
put it over. But that flick for Matt is not like a flick for most other quarterbacks in the league.
Nope. I'm gonna see if I can find that.
Like in a second. It's not that Michael Vick flick of the wrist.
Oh no,
the ball just doesn't fly out of his hands. It never has, never will.
Yeah, I don't know how, but he would have been better shot putting that ball than trying to throw it.
Let's see. This is wow, guys. I just opened up YouTube TV, the recording of it. I clicked somewhere on the bar. I was like, let me see if I can find it. It's literally in the middle of the play. It's literally in the middle of that play. So let's see. Let me back it up about 15 seconds here so we can talk. So here we go. 4th and 5. Matt Patricia's one big motherfucker.
Yeah.
So they showed us
Rob Ryan.
They showed us man coverage too high. It looks like 2 men under. That's what they showed us. We send Julio in motion. They follow. Then they load the box. All right. So Matt has a clean pocket.
We're talking about the 4th down play?
Yeah.
Good. Drew Lock. Terrible. Oh, it's not Drew Lock. Who's even starting?
I give that more of a great defensive play than anything. Looking at the way all the ground he had to cover on that, Trey Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was set up, but I'm watching him trace the play right here.
What could have Matt done to get that ball to Ito? More arc.
Watch it one more time.
Yeah, I mean, if he had set his feet, he probably could have gotten a little.
He really wasn't that. Like he didn't really throw off his back foot. He kind of turned his shoulder to get it.
Backpedaling.
Yeah, I mean, he went like, all right. So we're snapping the ball from the almost the 13. Matt takes the ball, receives it at about the 18 on the hike. Let's see. Okay. All right, so he has the ball in hand at the 18, drops back to the 20 and a half. And there's a guy coming and screaming in, about to light him up. So he turns his shoulders a bit to throw it over him. And because of that, it was the guy covering Hayden. He bailed off the coverage of Hayden and went and smacked it.
Oh, okay.
So it was just a great defensive play, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, there's nothing he could have done, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Could there have been, I don't know. Maybe on the right side.
Maybe if he would have thrown it about 5 more yards towards the side of, the side of the field, but you got a guy bearing down on you.
Yeah.
Right.
So why put yourself in that situation? I still stand on that. Why put your team in that situation? Why not? It was 14-13 at that point. We were up 14-13 with
just to be a
11:57.
just to be a contrarian, you could also say that that penalty, had they not given us that roughing the passer, that could have been 3 instead of 7.
What do you mean?
Or did they kick a field goal right there? Remember when we got the roughing the passer? Didn't they score
When they called roughing the passer on us or on them?
on us?
Yeah, I don't think they called. Did they call roughing the passer?
Yeah, when you're talking about on AJ Terrell,
Yeah,
yeah, that
went
turned into
forward,
7.
right?
The
Yeah,
very
so
next
that-
play, DeAndre Swift walked into the end zone.
So you could also be like, oh well, we lost. That could have been 3 right there, and then we wouldn't even been pressured to go for that. I'm just being contrary.
I don't quite get what you're saying. So
I'm
you're
just saying that there's
we
so
could have
many-
given up 3.
He's saying there are plenty of other other plays in the game where things didn't go our way that potentially led to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that you're
just saying
talking
football is
about
always
the
like
refs
that, where-
making a call versus you making a call.
Yeah, I know. I'm just being contrarian. But football is always like that, where there's so many different moments that it's always hard to just hang it on one thing. But I mean, I agree with you that was the wrong call.
It's like
Good play, wrong call.
It's like the speech from Any Given Sunday. It's about those inches.
I mean,
1 second too late, you don't reach it, you don't catch it.
And in this game, it was about points because those came at a premium. And if we would have just
Yeah.
took the points, we
and
would've
that's the point too. In the fourth quarter, there's 27 combined points in this game. You have to take the points.
won. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have to
I mean,
take them.
like I said, I agree, but I mean, I just not necessarily like, oh my god, that was such a fucking stupid call.
Yeah,
That
I didn't like
it was just one of those things. It's like I hate. I felt we should have went for the points, but I'm kind of indifferent about it. I don't hate it to the point where it's just like, oh, it's the dumbest thing ever. You should be fired today. And
I just felt at the moment it happened, there were so many other things that we could still do to win the game that I wasn't ready to just be like, oh, this is gonna cost us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it ended up
Check the chat, my friends. Check the chat. Check
well,
the chat.
it was I mean, we got other like Grady got a roughing call that kept
Oh
the
my
drive
God,
going.
that terrible roughing call.
It was terrible. But it was just they had so many extra calls on some garbage that kept drives going for them, and it's just like, man, this is ridiculous.
To me, the Grady one wasn't as bad as the AJ Terrell one because I saw that he tried to sort of grab him, but then he also sort of pushed him.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, like they said, that's a 300-pound man running as hard as he can.
Pereira even said it. That's more of a love tap than a penalty right there.
Right. So I understood that one more than the AJ Terrell one. The Terrell one, I was like, what the hell? Like, what is he supposed to do? On that one, Grady could have stopped himself, or he could have tried to hold him up.
Well,
no, but he was, go ahead.
The reason I felt the Grady one was bad is because like typically Pereira agrees with the refs, and like the AJ Terrell one, he was like, there was some helmet to helmet contact. You just can't hit the quarterback on the helmet at all. But with the Grady one, he's just like, I don't think that's a penalty right there. So it's like, bro, y'all just giving them yards. And then I think it was after a big gain too. They had like a big gain and then tack on an extra 15 yards because Grady bumped the quarterback after the play.
Yeah. Well, luckily though, the 4th and 5 attempt actually didn't immediately come back to bite us in the ass because that's when Prater drives down and missed the field goal. We then come back and we go run up the gut. Now it's 3rd and 9, so the defense knows that we have to pass it, and they can now kick it into an extra gear and really pass rush the quarterback. And you see Trey Flowers. No, or was that Aguara? Was Trey
Aguar got the strip and Flowers recovered it.
Yeah, so they teed off and got to Matt, strip sack. We actually hold again, and then
defense like, yeah.
Right, yeah, we got another stop. All right, let's go. And then here we go. We go down. After that, we go, what was it?
Was that the
13,
final
14
drive?
Plays, something again. Go down to
Gurley drive, right?
Yeah, the Gurley drive. I think that was another 13-play drive where we go down. Gurley stumbles into the end zone by mistake. Someone messaged me. It was like, that's what I'm talking about. I was like, no, we should have ran the clock out. He goes, you never second guess a touchdown. I was like, okay.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, not. And I said I was talking to my dad about it, and I said the one downside, if he had the ball in his right hand, it would have been fine. We wouldn't have gotten in. We would have kept the clock running. But I said it was because he tried to fall and he had the ball in his left hand. It was like, oh damn it! It just broke the plane by inches.
Like literally that
You
much.
saw his brain glitch, like right after he broke that last tackle, his brain started glitching. He was like,
Well, that defender did such a good job on trying to strip him. He threw him forward.
I think they won. They were almost trying to make him score.
Oh, without a doubt, they were.
Well,
That's
then,
what they,
right
yeah,
when he were like this.
I think the corner wanted to try to either rip the ball out, but if I don't get him on the ground, I'm letting them score. And he realized it, but his momentum was going, so it's just like fall.
Yeah. With that attempted strip, you see him grab Gurley by the ball / arms and just fling him forward, and that's why Gurley's like, no. So
the only person I know that might have enough core strength to actually stop that is probably Kamara.
Yeah.
It's funny though. It's ironic though, because it's always the Falcons would be like, oh, they're 1 yard short of the first and they don't get it, or they don't reach, or they don't fall forward, or some. But this time,
we accidentally score a touchdown to lose the game.
Yeah,
when we usually accidentally don't get the first.
I mean, again, it's like you lose in the most Atlanta way possible. You just do. So let's go more of a whole, game as a whole recap here. What you thought about the offense, what you thought about the defense, coaching, and then we'll call it a show. And I'll give y'all both the floor. Whoever wants to take it first, go. Offense, defense, coaching.
Marco, you want it?
Yeah, offense. The offense, I think, like I said, Detroit came into this game and ranked the #1 passing defense. So, we did what we could. I would like to see, Calvin Ridley's still making mistakes he made in his rookie year. So I don't know if that's ever going to really get better. But as a whole, man, our offense did what it was supposed to do for the most part. Defense looked really good. They really showed up. They got stops when they needed to, besides that last one. And coaching, until you brought, like I said, I didn't necessarily hate the 4th and 5, but obviously that cost us. So, coaching definitely gets a lot of that blame. But like I said, it still has a better feel than the last 4 years or 5 years under Dan Quinn. Like, it just has a better feel. I'm not as worried. I'm not as, just anxious. With Dan, we were up 20 points and I'm anxious. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I get what you're saying. Give the when you're done with each unit, give them a grade like a C, A+, B+, that type of thing.
I give for all 3 aspects. Mm-hmm. Offense gets like 78. C+. Defense gets an 85. And Raheem gets like an 81.
So you're looking at about a B- as a whole, as a team.
Yeah.
Micah.
So for me, I gotta say, offense. I think I'm gonna give the offense. I'm gonna give them a C+. We moved the ball, but 22 points. That was all we produced out of it. We carved up the passing defense, but we just couldn't put the ball in the end zone. Defense. I thought the defense played well for the most part. Minus barring the last drive, but that's been one of my frustrations with the Falcons. The Falcons over the almost the entire Matt Ryan era is, we always seem to find to put the defense, have to rely on a less talented defense to close games out for us. And granted, it's just one of those. But for the most, I have to say for them defense, I'd give a B. I thought they played well, but there were some, pass rush was almost non-existent at times. Minus when we weren't blitzing, and secondary did fairly well. Just gave up a lot of yards. And coaching, I give a C. I give a C to coaching. I don't think it was the worst called game there were, but I mean, like I said, that the 4th and 5 did wind up coming to bite us. But I think hindsight is 2020. It wasn't the worst call, but it wasn't the best call. So if it worked, then it was a great call. But it failed. So we lost by less than a field goal. So yeah, it's one of those things. So that they have to take a knock for that. But for the most part, I think like a lot of the game plan wasn't horrible, but there were a few lapses in there that messed us up.
So I'll start with the offense. It looked good. It looked okay. I still don't think Julio Jones, even though he says he's 100% healthy, is Julio Jones right now, because we're not running him deep. We're not opening him up and really testing that hamstring. So I think for what we've got out there, it's looking all right. But the offense looked pedestrian. It didn't look like anything that was what it could be. And I think that's mainly because of who's calling it. But it just looked okay. The Detroit Lions were actually giving up the most yards per carry on first down in the entire NFL. People were averaging 6 yards per carry on first down against them. And we, for the game, averaged 2.5 yards a carry. I think that is 100% on
scheme.
On scheme, exactly. I don't think that has anything to do with the players. I think that has everything to do with how we attack them. They mentioned it several times in the game. Like if as a fan, I can see it, and as announcers, they can see it. They can say the Detroit Lions are giving the Falcons this, and they're taking away this. But yet Dirk Cutter's like, let's keep attacking the thing they're not giving us. I get balance. I do. I get that you need to keep the defense honest in some aspects, but there are several teams in the NFL that forego balance and attack what they're not, or what they're giving you, and they force the defense to change then, and then you attack what you want to attack. For whatever reason, Dirk Cutter thinks he can overpower teams and get what he wants, even though they're not giving it to you. So as an offense, I will give the players, I think an 85 is a fairly good assessment, but I'll attach the coaching grade to it here in a second. So I'll give the offensive players an 85 or a solid B. Defensively, I think the defense played outstanding. The Detroit Lions have, a lot of people are like, oh, it's the Detroit Lions. They kind of have that stigma attached to them. They have talent. They have a ton of it too. They've got a first-round tight end in TJ Hawkinson, who a lot of people are saying is going to be the next Gronk. They've got Kenny Golladay, who you heard mentioned in the same breath as Julio Jones. Marvin Jones is a fantastic number 2 wide receiver. Amendola is the epitome of a slot receiver. They've got multiple first-round picks on their offensive line. They've got DeAndre Swift, and they've got a deep, yeah. Well, I mean, he's a good.
Yeah, it's just on that one.
Right. And then you also have old boy from Auburn, the running back.
Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson. They've got a lot of talent on offense.
Kerryon hurt? Did he play?
He got a few snaps here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just third on. He's down on that depth chart because the other two are better playmakers.
Because Swift has played so well recently.
And AP
and Stafford gets a lot of hate for a lot of undeserved hate that I don't think, when he was healthy, you saw MVP like numbers, and then he got hurt and his numbers dipped. And now I think you're starting to see a healthy Stafford come back to the forefront. So, I mean, he's got 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the season. He's playing well.
And usually he doesn't usually have much talent around him. This is a very talented team, comparatively speaking.
I think the defense played exceptionally well. I think the switch and scheme has worked out perfectly. The execution of it, I mentioned Keanu O'Neal was flying all around. Debo is being utilized differently. Foye is an absolute – he's going to be an all-pro one day. Foye is just so good. Terrell looks good. Sheffield looks like a serviceable number 2. Grady is Grady. We just need pass rush. I mean, that's it. The bottom line, we absolutely have to have pass rush. And I think, Micah is going to rejoice in this, but I think Rico has outlived his usefulness. His brain still helps because you see him down there making adjustments to the team a lot, but you don't see him around the ball enough like you used to.
He's always
I'll give the defense like an 87. I'm going to break down the coaching a little bit differently. Defensive coaching, high grade. I'd give them an A-. For what they did not allow a lot. They completely shut out the run for the Lions. And for offensive coaching, I would give Dirk Cutter a 70, maybe. That might even be being generous, but he's just awful offensive coordinator. And then head coach Raheem Morris, I'll give him an 86 because as a whole, he called the game exceptionally well. Being the scheme change and everything, the position swaps and moving players around, he's done a good job with that. No, I'm going to drop him down to an 81 because that fourth down call was just bad enough to really, really drop him down quite a bit. So, yeah, it just sucks, man.
Go ahead.
At least we don't see any time management things like that's
right.
That's what drops you into low C when you start not knowing how to manage possessions in time.
Well, here's the only thing I kind of differentiate with you on, Ryan, or I have a different opinion on. I don't think Cutter is necessarily trying to run the ball purely just for balance. I think some of it is because how important the play action is in that scheme. And it's the easiest way to get big shots in that Shanahan scheme. So I think he knows he has to try to run it, because at least if he tries to run it, then teams will bite on play action and you might potentially get behind the defenders and get a big play out of it, versus if you just sit there and drop back and dink and dunk. I mean, we could do that, but I think it's more effective. The play action or the big chunk, give the big chunk plays, and it's more effective when you're actually trying to run the ball than when you just throw a random play action in there and you've thrown the ball every other time.
Yeah, but I mean, a function of the play, like the function of running the ball to set up the play action, is sinking the linebackers down a step and giving your guys that extra step to get behind them. And when the defensive line is controlling the game like it did against the Falcons, the linebackers don't have to do that, and that's why they were able to flow to the edges so well and set that edge. So I get what you're saying, and I get the principle behind running to set up the play action. But when it's not effective, you're not actually doing the play action justice by sinking those linebackers down, because they never did. They never aggressively attacked the line.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Matt is, to be perfectly honest with you, I think Matt is more comfortable in the pocket with play action than when he just drops back and passes, because at least he feels like there's less pass rush, so I can sit here and buy more time. I have more time. He feels a little more comfortable.
Yeah. At that point, it negates a bit of the pass rush. I will agree with you there.
Yeah, and instead of just dropping straight back and throwing the ball, I think that's ultimately what it is. It's more so keeping him comfortable, as well as potentially trying to get some big plays out of it.
It's very true. A tendency I've noticed of Matt is that if you just drop him back and give him time, he always checks down. But whenever he bootlegs or play actions, he always goes deep. But he rarely ever throws deep balls on just drop backs.
Yeah. All right. Well, that covers our post-game report for the Lions versus Falcons. Next week, we have the Panthers on Thursday Night Football.
And I believe McCaffrey will be back.
Will he?
I think so.
Oh, God.
He's real non-committal about that.
So the Panthers without McCaffrey just took the New Orleans Saints down to the wire and were a 65-yard field goal attempt away from tying the game.
Which was funny. They were trying to break the record of the dude who beat us.
Oh yeah. I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, Prater. Is Prater the one with the record now?
Yeah, 64 yards is the record by him.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're going into Carolina against a team that's already beaten us once, who's playing exceptionally well, and in Trevor Lawrence we trust.
I mean, Dallas trusts in Trevor Lawrence too. The Jets, dude.
That's a great thing.
There's a lot of competition.
But the downside is Dallas has already won 2 games, so
and they beat us.
They beat us.
So if we win one more if we tie out the rest of the season, they beat us. So we're worse than them.
The only thing we're worried about is the Jets. The Jets look to be just defeated, not even undefeated, just defeated. They're like, we will not win a game.
The Jets are so bad.
We're going to break records, man.
Josh Allen's also very bad though. Like I was
I
watching.
don't know what's gotten into him.
He's just not good. I think he was getting lucky because of a lot of unscouted looks. But when you actually make him act like a quarterback, he's pretty bad.
They're in no danger of getting the first pick. So
no, they're not. But
I think they have no balance there either.
If you let Taysom Hill start, he'd be Josh Allen.
Because you got Singletary. You got Singletary as their best running back. Because who's the guy they drafted? The one you wanted, Moss.
Zach Moss.
Yeah, Zach Moss. He's been hurt with a toe injury the past like 2 or 3 weeks. So they legitimately, Devin Singletary, who's more of a scat back, they've just been kind of trying to dink and dunk with him instead of just running the ball.
All right, well, let's wrap this show up. Let's prepare for sadness on Thursday Night Football coming up here, and we'll see you guys Thursday night around probably 10.